Welcome to Conversations Live, where we bring you the best in music, books, entertainment, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us. Now, here is your host, Cyrus Webb.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Conversations Live, where we connect you with the artists and authors you love, who bring you the music and books you can't get enough of. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. I want to first thank those joining us here on the radio dial at 92.3 FM. We also welcome those joining us online worldwide through blogtalkradio.com, whether you listen to us through our switchboard, our live chat, or even our podcast. We're glad to have all of you with us. We have a great half hour coming up for you this evening on our program. We're going to kick things off by speaking to the authors of the book Erik's Hope. We have Andrea Chilcote, and also Sarah Burden will be joining us live to talk to us about how the book came about and also the lessons that not only Andrea was able to take away from her experience with Erik, but also that we all can take away as well. At 20 minutes past the hour, we have our resident chef, Bruce Tretter. He'll be joining us from Massachusetts to give you your quick and easy cooking tip, and Bruce is getting you guys ready for, of course, Christmas, but he's going to be giving you a great tip, especially for children, to be able to make a little surprise for their parents that's really safe for them on Christmas morning. Again, a great half hour joining us here on the program. Glad you all could join us live. As I said, we have Andrea and Sarah joining us on the program as well. Authors, welcome to Conversations Live.
Hi, Cyrus. It's Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah, thank you so much for being with us. And I'm sorry, is it pronounced Andrea or Andrea?
Andrea. Thank you.
Andrea, okay, Andrea, thank you so much. Well, I'm glad you guys could be with us here. I love this book, and I think as someone who is an animal lover, and others will appreciate it as well, I want to begin, though, by kind of talking to you about the genesis of the project. Andrea, we know this was kind of your story, and Sarah kind of helped us to bring in a very special element of it that readers get to take a part of. But where did the idea for this first come from, Andrea?
Well, when Erik passed away in 1998 and Amigo shortly came after him, I started writing it then in 1998 because the book is based on a true story, and it was so amazing that I knew right away it was meant to be shared with others. The gift and the lessons were not just for me. So it's been a long-term project. Yeah.
From what we read in the book, it took over a decade. For you to actually get to this point. So, Sarah, talk to us then about your role. One thing we learned is that Andrea actually asked you about being a part of the process. For us who love to read and we love to know, of course, get inside the minds of our characters, you kind of help us to get inside the animals that we meet along the way. What was it like for you to work on this project, Sarah?
When Andrea invited me to join her to co-write the book a couple of 3 years ago, we were taking an audio book that Andrea had produced 10 years ago and adding a different element to it and adding more of the story about the dogs and creating the animals speaking to one another and White Wolf, and she asked that I help her write that. And my background had been strictly in business writing up until that point, and I had no idea how we were going to go about doing it, but we knew we would enjoy doing it, and we did.
Yeah. And the finished product, of course, being Erik's Hope, the subtitle, The Leash That Led Me to Freedom. You know, when people hear that word freedom, Andrea, there are several things that come to mind, but it seems like for you, this was a very personal journey that Erik was a part of for you, and you actually, as we get to see in the book, you do kind of put a lot on him as far as to what he was able to do in your life. Take us into the journey with Erik, and what is it about him and your relationship with him that kind of freed you to be the person you were meant to be?
Well, I haven't said this before out loud, but it almost reminded me the way you framed this up of Janis Joplin's line about freedom only means that we have nothing left to lose. Mm-hmm. And that's really what freedom meant for me in this story. Throughout Erik's life, he taught me so many lessons. He taught me how to slow down and be present to the moment, and what I would learn about my own creative intuition, what was right for me, what was purposeful in my life. He taught me about compassion in a way that I never got it with human beings. I got it for all of mankind and all of humanity through the dog. But the most important thing that he taught me was at his death, and through the grieving process for him, I learned how to grieve for everything in my life that I had ever lost, every pain, every loss, every disappointment. I all came together at his death, and he taught me how to get through that process and rely on my faith to get me through.
Yeah. Andrea, it's interesting. This has to be, as Sarah was talking about her role in this, Andrea, this has to be a very personal thing for you, especially a revealing part as well, because I know both of you all are involved in the professional community. You're helping so many other people to be able to build their businesses, to build their lives. Sarah, for you, as you were working on this project, one of the things that comes to mind, especially with what Andrea just shared, was that after the death of Erik, what we see in the book is the importance of the letting go. And we are able to see not only Erik dying, but a part of Andrea dying as well, the old her. And you will write this, and I think this is pretty interesting. For those who have not read the book, make a note of page 223. So when you guys do get your copy, and we're going to tell you how to get your copy at the end of the program, you'll be able to read this and reflect on this as well. This is what you guys wrote. Death provides a forced surrender, and surrender is required for transformation. Sarah, talk to us about the transformation for you, because as you were basically taking Andrea's story, Erik's story, and what the bigger picture was, what does this whole process mean for you, and how were you changed by the process?
Well, it actually goes back to I love Andrea and I love her animals, and watching her go through telling the story and us getting it committed to words and to paper, and seeing her go through, she may have gone through a grieving process years ago when Erik died, but she relived it when we were working through telling the story, Cyrus, and I saw her continue to let go of pains that she had, little bits and pieces that she had held on to, and her going through it allowed me to go through it on some things that were going on in my life that I had never let go. So it's a serious reminder that you can't keep that stuff. You have to let it go, and otherwise it affects you for the rest of your lives.
Exactly. For those that are just tuning in, either on the radio side at 92.3 FM or online through blogtalkradio.com, you're listening to Conversations Live. I'm speaking with Andrea Chilcote and also Sarah Burden. They're the authors of the book, Erik's Hope, The Leash That Led Me to Freedom. And we're talking about some of the messages of the book. And I think the larger lesson for all of us is we're talking about, for one thing, what the transition is for us, and whatever it might be in whatever form it may come in, but also the death, I think, of the old personality, the new personality emerging, and how sometimes it takes that loss in order for us to really find ourselves. Andrea, there is another part of the book, and of course I think Sarah's hand was in this, is because it goes back to White Wolf, who she mentioned earlier, and that is when you have Erik talking to White Wolf, and he says to White Wolf, there's sometimes I just don't, I know Andrea needs something, and I don't know how to give it to her or what it might be. And he wants to know what should he do in those moments, and White Wolf says, just be there to love her. Just be there. Talk to us about how that has now helped you in your own life. As you have gone through this transformation, how has that lesson of just being there, being that person, how has that helped you?
That is what it's all about. That's the main lesson. The main lesson of Love Never Dies is that love is really all there is. And there's been so many philosophers, artists, writers who've said that, but I really got it through Erik's death. I'll tell you a quick story about that with White Wolf. When I finally sensed Erik's presence after he died, and it was some time, as you read the book, I, in real life, despite the stories, saw and felt him as a huge, huge white wolf. So he was a Samoyed wolf hybrid blend, and he was beautiful, and he was big and fluffy. But I sensed this huge, almost lion-like presence of a white wolf. And I sensed that love, and that was when I felt his love back. And while we grieve for the physical, we grieve for the human or the animal or the job or the lifestyle on the physical level, if we can connect with the fact that that love, that energy of love is always available to us and always around us, we're never, never alone.
Yeah. Andrea, to stay with that thought, I think that they just told me that they lost Sarah's connection. We're going to be working to try to get Sarah back. But to stay with that thought, we learned a little bit about your background in Chapter 8, about this entrepreneurial spirit that you had, and being able to be there to instruct. There's a great reflective point that you gave us in that chapter, as in others as well, and that is for us to look at ourselves and to ask questions about what is it we really love, what are we passionate about. But then there's that question that struck me, because sometimes as you pose in that chapter, there are some things you're good at, but you don't normally enjoy or necessarily enjoy. Why is it important, from your own experience, to be able to differentiate the two? Because some would automatically think, well, if you're good at something, that's what what you probably want to do. Why is that not always the case?
I think that we can get good at something because we're very disciplined, and our society and our education system and well-meaning adults, when they're teaching children, often have ideas about what is important to do, what's important to learn, and we can get really good at those things. But my belief is, and this is a very idealistic philosophy, that if we all really paid attention to what gives us joy, what gives us energy, what gives us a sense of purpose, and did that, we would not have the challenges we have with people in careers and jobs and job loss, because we would have folks suited for what they love. And I really believe the philosophy that if you do what you love, it's on purpose, you'll be employed, you'll make money, etc. I really know that to be true. I know that through my own experience and through my clients. And I think that we can just be trained up in a way to do things, and if we're smart enough and disciplined enough, we can learn to do them, but it doesn't mean that they're the right thing for us.
Yeah, exactly. It's we do have Sarah back with us. My home state of Mississippi.
We have thunderstorms in Atlanta.
We're having the same thing here, and I was just about to say that's a perfect segue, Sarah, because Mississippi, my home state here, it makes an appearance in the book as well. Sarah, I want you to talk to us about what it was like writing with Andrea about the one. And for our listeners who have not read the book, we're not talking about the Matrix and Neo, but we're talking about something that came up in the book early on that, of course, there would be a time when Erik would come back in a new puppy. Andrea's told that. And then talk to us about writing about the one, that one puppy that stood out from the other litter that we find. Talk to us about that, Sarah, and what you hope we kind of, as readers, take away from that and that connection.
Well, I'm happy to talk about it, although it's retelling what Andrea felt the day that she met new little amigo in Mississippi. She trusted her instinct. She allowed herself to recognize this little being who stood out from all the others. And it is truly about trusting our instincts and trusting our intuition and not doubting that. And as a result, she reconnected with her best friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's an amazing story, and I'm so glad that the two of you are able to share this with the world. Andrea, I know it took over a decade to produce, but I think it was well worth the wait. Again, the title of the book is Erik's Hope, The Leash That Led Me to Freedom. The authors are Andrea Chilcote and also Sarah Burden. Andrea, for you, as people are reading the book and they're getting the messages and then really, quite frankly, just enjoying the story, what do you hope people kind of take away when they close it?
Well, you said it, Cyrus. Everyone is going to take something different away from it. There are people who are very much connected to their animal companions as family members, and they'll get a sense of shared understanding around the loss and the depth of the love There are people who are grieving many things in their lives, and they'll find a healing message there. There are people who are just aware of their need for some kind of transformation and personal growth, and they'll find a message. And I think you're right. It's also just a fun story to read. It's something that is engaging.
Right.
We've been blessed with feedback from readers from 8 or 9 years old all the way up to 70 or 80 years old, and everybody takes something different away.
And I think that is the great thing about a well-written book, that there is something that kind of appeals to everyone. And there is, Sarah, I love that point that you brought out just a couple moments ago, and that is about, of course, your instincts and trusting yourself, and how sometimes we might build that trust in a very unlikely way. And I think it really goes by, when people read the story, we'll really go back to letting them understand why so many people are so attached to the animals in their lives, and that it's more than just being able to care for something else. But a lot of times it's that animal that actually provides a lot more than we might see, and this is a great way to be able to see it. And I think a lot goes with that word freedom. It's such a loaded word, and a lot of times we look at our journeys in life and what we're going through, and a lot of times we can be in bondage. Andrea, I think when you're talking about work especially, I think a lot of people feel caged in, as it were, to their profession, not being able to be their true self. But I think when you're with an animal that allows you to be your authentic self and to live your life authentically, I think it definitely adds to that connection. Andrea, for our listeners that want to find out more information about the two of you as well as the book, you guys have a great website set up. Why don't you go ahead and give that website out for our listeners?
It's erikshope.com, and it's Erik with a K, so it's ERIKSHOPE.com. And you can also find us on Facebook /EriksHope with a K.
Okay. And you guys have made it very easy. Actually, if people go to erikshope.com, you guys have buttons there for Twitter and Facebook there at the top that people can go to easily connect with you guys as well. I'm so glad that you were able to come on. I think this is a great book for individuals looking to travel this weekend. Definitely go ahead and pick up your copy. You can get it also on Amazon.com, so make sure that you do visit Amazon if you get your books normally from there to get it as well. Andrea, Sarah, thank you too for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to the two of you as well.